So, ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Prince L, financial planner, estate planner, doctor of occupational oriented medicine, you know, in my Cape Crusader midnight hours, right? So, today we're going to be discussing the importance of developing our financial house. Some of our houses may look like the side on the left, some of our houses may look like the side on the right. But tonight we're going to be trying to figure out how to get everybody on the same page, right? Now, for those of you who may not be aware, when it comes to building any house, what's one thing we all want when it comes to building a good, strong house?
A good foundation.
Good foundation, right? And
Oh,
so when it comes to a good foundation, that the foundation for any financial house is the money coming into the house. So we're going to be planning from different perspectives. Everyone's got a different foundation amount, different foundational start period. Basically, we're saying that I'm 40, but just because I'm 40, I'm in pretty decent shape. Doesn't mean that you're 40 in pretty decent shape, or that biologically we're the same. Gender may be different. If such a thing is important. Um, And but when it comes to our finances, you know, health is also part of life expectancy. Okay. And in today's day and age, modern medicine included, a lot of us can potentially live beyond the age of 80. All right. Some of us potentially have the ability to live to age 100 or longer. Of course, that comes from like solid eating, good healthy exercise, daily activity, you know, keeping the stress as low as possible. Like I'm still doing a pretty good job of keeping the salt out of the pepper. You know what I'm saying? So I might be doing a pretty decent job of keeping my stress low or making sure the proper vitamins and minerals to not have that be the case, right? But now for men, likelihood of life expectancy is 84, whereas for women tends to be 86 to 88 right now, currently, right? So I start with that to bring to us all to one place in our thought process. Part 1.A is, what age do you want to retire? Part 1B, how long do you anticipate living beyond the age of retirement? And 1C, will you have enough money when it comes time for you to retire, not have to work because money isn't a necessity? Or is there the potential of you becoming a possible financial burden, not just to yourself, but potentially to the people that you love and that you care for and that also want to see you good, right? So I want everyone to think about that because again, the foundation of your financial house, your income, as well as your health. Because hey, still got the DR in front of my name, all right? And that means I want you to be healthy enough to enjoy the wealth that you're growing and accruing. Okay. So we want to make sure that, yeah, protecting your income, which also is in today's society, one of the top ways that you protect your family. Because if your income goes out the door, if you're accounting for over 50% of your household's income, ask yourself the question of, will it create a financial hardship for those that are financially dependent on you, right? Will they suffer if you're not there to provide the current support emotionally, physically, financially? All right, guys. Now, for whatever your annual income level is, I want you to multiply that by 3 to 10. And whatever that number is, I want you to think about whether or not you've got enough income to cover anywhere from 10 to 15 years something were to happen, right? Now, this is where we also have to kind of touch on other tough parts of a conversation that, quite frankly, a lot of us don't have early enough in our lives to prepare us for it later on in our life, right? And this conversation revolves around legal protection. This is the really the roof of our financial house, because you don't have the roof on that firm foundation that's holding up those walls. The roof, it's gonna be what protects whatever furniture you bring into that house from the weather, from the harsh elements that exist outside of your house, right? No one wants to be one of the first two of the three little pigs, right? House of straw. What was the other house made of?
House of straw, house of, um, sticks, and
Right?
then, bricks.
And then bricks, right? Straw, sticks, and then bricks. Okay. Make sure you tell, the madam, put brick on my brick. That's a different kind of conversation, but still, keeping it on the straight and narrow path. All right. No one wants to be the first two little piggies, because the house of straw and the house of sticks were easily blown down by the big bad wolf, right? Anyone ever wonder if it's the same big bad wolf from the Red Riding Hood story? Was that just me? I always kind of wondered, like, this big bad wolf. I don't know. This guy is getting around. Might be the same wolf with a real bad reputation, But me a bad man too, bad man thing. This is how we're creating brick houses, though. Okay, by having the conversation that you will not you will not ever really hear at a time of family loss, right? Was there a will in place, right? Was there someone who had power of attorney to access the different accounts to the person who was taking care of everybody, right? Because there, there's still part of our society that operates in a very traditional, way of family structure, where there's one primary breadwinner, right? And then there's a supportive breadwinner, right? Or someone who's in a very traditional system, may not be necessarily a breadwinner, but managing the inner workings of the home, right? And in today's day and age, we don't know what gender that person is. So this doesn't matter what gender it is. Okay, you could be a woman making millions of dollars, and your husband, a stay-at-home husband, who wants to do that, stays at home, educates your children, shows them, the way to raise up the family, and manages the finances, because one person normally makes the money, but another person manages the money. And the person who makes the money and the person who manages the money are never ever the same person. Okay?
Mm.
It's usually the person who knows everybody's birthdays. All right? And that person typically tends to be the lady of the house. All right? So, but that's a system that maybe doesn't exist so much in today's society. So we got to bring that up to speed. All right. So again, it doesn't matter who it is that's making the majority of the income. We've got to, is there a plan of action in place that says, hey, in the event that something happens to me, right? My spouse, my significant other, my domestic partner will receive X, Y, and Z. If he or she has survived, beneficiaries shall be A, B, C, one, two, and three, right? What is the estate planning element to your house? Again, it looks like it's the second floor of this house, but really I want you to see this as the roof. Okay, because again, this is what's going to protect everything else that's in there. Now, let's keep going because while we're working, some of us spend more time at jobs to make income, to care for the homes that we spend the majority of our life outside of, in
Mhm.
cars that we spend the majority of our life in, traveling to and from jobs that take us away from those that we want to spend our time with. So sometimes, there tends to be a little bit of debt, and we never know what a little bit of debt looks like for each person, right? And then for other people, there might be a lot of debt, but one person's little bit of debt is another person's lot of it, right? Case in point, I went to medical school, cost me $150,000 in student loans, right? However, I know friends of mine who went to college, spent $10,000 on an associate's degree, and they're in student loan debt for $10,000. And they're like, well, it's not just one student loan, it's actually several. And I'm like, and for those of you that don't know that there are multiple student loans that get created because you get a new loan each semester,
Yep.
right? How many of us are thinking about this, or how many of us have thought to think about this in advance to where, you know, the current debt, which could be your children's debt in the future, but if we do things right, if we make sure that we help you plan for retirement, right? And also have like a nice little emergency savings account of, somewhere north of $1,000 because statistically, most people do not have over $1,000 to take care of most emergencies, right? So we got to help people build up an emergency savings before we start like getting into other things like, hey, let's really start talking about investing into your retirement, right? Again, people spend a large percentage of their life outside of the homes that they go to jobs to make money at. How many people, by show of hands or by numbers in the chat, put a five in the chat if you are familiar with your employee benefits. And by employee benefits, I mean, you know, uh, your group term life insurance, your 401k, if you're in a regular, non government or state operated business, okay, which would give you a 403b, because we have teachers on this call. Okay, we have people who are educators, who work in the school system as well. So they've got 403bs, which the B is a tax code for those that don't know, right? 403b just says that it's a benevolent organization. So not only is this teachers, this is all your our unsung heroes, cops, firemen, teachers, doctors, lawyers, although, some of us might feel a little bit differently about the last two, right? But how many of us are familiar, you know, and I haven't seen a five go into the chat yet. So that tells me not many people are familiar with their employer benefits the way that they should. I see one five. We got how many people on this call right now? Somebody let me know the numbers. We got nine
Hi.
people in the call. I see three fives, three fives so far. Three out of nine. What's that? A little bit over a
1/3.
third. So that's a third of the attendees is, 30%, 33%, right? It's not bad. It's not bad. But now think about that. Only three people know about their benefits. If we put these numbers and we multiplied it by 10, it would only be 33 people out of 100 that actually are familiar with their employer benefits, right? How many people are familiar with how to max the employer match out, right? Meaning the government incentivizes you to, put money aside for retirement, okay? So for the employee, have a tax write-off potentially for your retirement. However, and this is where we got to talk a little bit about taxes in a way that the taxes are structured for you to wrap your mind around something, okay? Namely, that for these tax codes, okay, if you had a traditional 401k, what's going to happen? This is pre-tax dollars. So you don't pay any taxes on the contribution now. But when you start making withdrawals later in life, a couple of things are going to happen. One, hopefully you're older, okay, unless you, and maybe by older you got a little Benjamin Button action going on, so you're getting older but you're looking younger. You know what I mean? I'm hoping to be in that kind of a category, although I don't want to go younger than 17 physically. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to go younger than 17. Too many things went crazy before 17. 17, I was all right. You know what I'm saying? I could manage it, you know? Hey, we're adults here. We having an adult conversation. But hear me out, you know. At 17, I still didn't know anything about finances in the world. And a lot of us didn't know anything about finances in the world either. So if I physically look like I'm 17, but I'm, you know, I got the wisdom of a 90-year-old. I have the wisdom of 100+ year old, right? And I did my math and made sure the math was mathing when I was busting my hump, right? The 72 grand a year, hey, with no overtime. You hear what I'm saying? This is just 72 grand a year. You know, maybe that's too big of a number, but I'm playing with some numbers to kind of get you guys thinking about some things. All right. So you got a traditional 401k. Let's get back to this point. You got a traditional 401k. You're putting money in, but you don't get any taxes taken out now. The taxes are going to come out later. So you're older later on in life. And that means that you're also going to be in a lower tax bracket. People think about, oh, I got to pay taxes on it later on in life. Yeah, you do. But you're also older. Your taxable income is also lower. All right. So think about that. A lot of people don't think about that. Other things people don't think about is the actual age at which you could touch a traditional 401k retirement plan. All right. Age 59 and a half. It does share that same age with a Roth IRA. Okay. So there you go. Like the IRA and the traditional 401k, the traditional IRA, the traditional 401k, these are the same, right? They're both pre-tax dollars. You're not going to get taxed now. You're going to get taxed later. But again, you're older. You're in a lower tax bracket. Think about that. Okay. Will it be enough money for you when you're 60 for you to stop working because money is no longer an option? If the answer for you right now to that question is no, you've got to change what you know to be your financial independence. Okay, if you've never heard that phrase before, financial independence number, how much do you need to live without having to go back to work? Because money is a necessity, right? Retirement doesn't mean that you stop working because you don't go back to work. It means you don't have to work for money. Okay. You could retire anytime before the age of 60. Of course, if you got a retirement plan, you might not be able to touch that money until 59 and a half. So we might need to talk about things outside of your employer sponsored retirement. Okay. Real quickly on the Roth, very simple. Roth is post-tax dollars, so you get taxed on it now to put it away. Roth typically works better for younger folks because they have a much longer contribution period. All right. However, I will also say this, for those that are older and approaching retirement age, a Roth may benefit you because you only need to have it in place for 5 years in order to touch it later. So if you're 60, if you're set, you know, if you're 65 or 67, which is the age most people think about retiring at, and you find yourself having to go back to work, if you have to set up another retirement plan, it should be a Roth IRA. It should not be a traditional IRA, because if I can help you to retire in 5 years or less, right? Then by the time the retirement time frame, the 5 year period is up, and I'm able to help you touch that money, you might not even need it. Okay, that's the goal. I'm not an insurance salesperson. I'm a financial planner. All right. We talked about insurance, but maybe I didn't. I got to go back to this real quick. Okay. Insurance is just to help you replace the income that you might lose if something happened to you during your life. All right. It in your lifetime, that's the living benefit to insurance. It protects your income. It'll give you 40% or more, depending on who your life insurance provider is, right? To help you afford financial challenges that come with life. All right. If you lose your steady income. Okay, you got terminally ill, reasons why people should get it when they're young, because we're looking at planning for the years that you have to work, right? Which brings us back to the retirement. How many years do you want to work? What age do you want to retire? If you're thinking about, well, I'm at the age where, Prince, you're mentioning income protection, that's the foundation of this. How many, I don't have much time left to work. How much insurance, or how much, is there insurance that gives me a certain time period? Yes, there is. And just so everyone is aware, you can cancel your life insurance at any point that you want. If you become self-insured, like let's say that you win the lotto. Firstly, anyone that's on this call, if you win the freaking lotto, bring that money over here to Poppy. Okay, and I'm gonna show you what to do with it. All right, you're gonna keep the money. I'm just gonna show you what to do with it. Because if you win the Powerball, we're gonna create for you out of the government funded annuity, because that's what the Powerball is. It's an annuity. It's designed to give people income for life. How is that possible? How is Lotto designed to give people income for life? Well, if you're thinking about running through millions of dollars very quickly, you, my friend, spank your hand. All right, bad you, bad you. Okay, bad you. Roll it back. All right. I'm sorry. I forgive me. I had to do it. Okay. If I don't have this stern talking to you with you right now, we're gonna have an uncomfortable conversation later, right? So bring it over here to Prince. You're gonna keep your money, but I'm gonna show you how to make it work for you. All right. The lotto is designed to give people income for life. In fact, they never give the winners of the lotto the full lump sum of the winnings at one time. First, they take out taxes. Mr. Sam is like, yo, grease the palm, grease the palm. All right. You got to pay the game to play the game. You know what we say? And the bank always wins. The house always gets this. Okay. So, but I'm showing you how to take advantage of some things. Okay. Showing you how to take advantage of some things. So they never give you the money. I want you to think the way the big boys do. I want you to replicate what they do. If they give it to you in chunks, you give it to you in chunks. And that's where you turn a lotto winning into your own personal annuity. They give you a couple $1,000,000 on upfront, because it's like, get exactly how much the Powerball is right now. But after taxes, you still got over 75% of it, right? To be quite frankly with it, be upfront with it. You still got over let's say 65. That's a more modest number. You've got over 65% of the lotto still your advantage. Paid the taxes, they give you a couple million, you take that couple million, you put it into an annuity. The annuity is you creating your own stream of income for the rest of your life. If you think that you'll live to 84 or 86, that's how many years you want to set your annuity for. All right. Which means you're going to get chunks of money every month for a couple of years. All right. The longer the time period, the smaller the amount. The shorter the time period, the larger the amount. Okay. This is an inverse relationship when it comes to annuities. When you have a long term annuity, it's a smaller amount in comparison to the short term payout period, which has a much bigger much bigger stack. All right. So you guys got to think about what it is that you want, where you're at, your situation. What kind of house are you building? Just showing you how to build this thing brick by brick. Tell Prince, sell right brick on my brick, brick by brick. All right. So I want you thinking about retirement. Some of you, some of us, you've got kids, got children. All right. And some of our children are bright. I say some of our children. We got to be honest. We want to be real here. Okay. This isn't one of those things where everybody gets a gold star for participation. Okay. Some of our children are exceptional. They are not average. They are not mediocre. All right. Nor should they be treated as though they are average or mediocre, nor should they be rewarded in the same fashion that everyone else is rewarded simply for showing up. Okay. So I want you guys to start thinking about rewarding your children. You make enough money where you can start putting money aside for college. You should do that right now. Okay. Let me introduce you to something called the 529. This is an education savings account. Okay, guys. Now, with this, you can start it out with as low as $25, right? With the 529, there is an income limit, all right, but there is a very large contribution amount. And the benefit of the 529 is that it can be, anyone can contribute to it. All right. So like let's say,
Me too.
some of us are thinking, well, I know a young man who is on his way to becoming a budding paleontologist. I call him, the young doctor. I'm gonna for privacy, we're gonna keep his name out. We're gonna put some respect on his name. But the young man is on his way to being a doctor. He's gonna be one of the best paleontologists our planet's ever seen. Okay. Now, wouldn't it be great if us as a community we see how valuable, how bright this young mind is? Because again, at the end of the day, he's gonna be a doctor, right? He may pivot later on and say, you know what, I want to stop studying, the bones of the past. I want to start studying the people of the present, right? We never know. We don't know how we inspire children. You know what I'm saying? We don't know what may inspire in their life, or transpire in their life that may alter the course. But at the very least, let's give them a GPS that they can use to kind of follow to get to their destination, right? With the 529, even if the child doesn't go to college, number one, it's got to be used by age 30 for the child, all right? Two, you can use it for if you don't use it for primary or secondary education, you can use it for non-education related purposes. Just be mindful that there is a tax penalty that comes along with. Okay. I'm saying this because, again, we've got teachers that are on this call, right? There are some teachers and some educators, some people in the school system that see how bright some of the children that they're working with are, you know, and the teachers and the counselors and the therapists are the ones that are the first lines in our children's education and us, right? So, let's say that an educator, a counselor came up to you and said, you've got a very bright child and they've got a future ahead of them. I think that you should start planning as soon as possible to help them get a head start, not a head start program. Okay. Head start is nice, but it doesn't do anything for anyone's pocket. Let's call it spade a spade, right? It does nothing for anyone's pocket. At the very least, someone could be like, we're giving you a heads up and a head start. Let me talk to you real quickly about a 529. Right? Let me talk to you about an educational savings account for your bright mind, your young, bright mind. Okay, put a couple of dollars aside for your child. It acts like an investment. It has the same kind of interest rates as investments do. So, depending on which one you kind of put it into, it will perform. Okay, but you've got to use that money before the age of 30. Okay, and there might be some other pros to it as well, but I don't want to spend the rest of the call on that either. But again, for those who have children in the house now, you're helping to build their financial house now as well, because it's not just authorized user accounts with credit, right? It's not just, yeah, that's great. You do your due diligence to be a financially savvy person. You don't go beyond the 30% credit utilization. You understand the rules of 72, so you understand how interest rates affect either an investment or a debt, and how quickly it will take for that investment or that debt to either double in your interest or against your interest. Okay. And then start thinking about, well, if I'm going to set up my child right, and by setting them up as beneficiaries of my estate, your estate, do you want them to inherit a legacy of debt? No, I don't think anybody wants that,
No.
right? So I want you guys to start thinking about, for those of you who have children, and your financial house does not include a college, college fund for your child. And I don't mean just like, oh, I've got a couple of $100 in the bank, but yeah, but it's in the bank. How, how much interest is your bank offering you on holding that money in the bank? Is it over 3%? Is it over 5%? If you're not over 3%, inflation will catch you. Inflation will devalue the money that you're saving for your child's education. So you can also use the 529, or another thing called the prepaid tuition program, which, I mean, you're paying for college tomorrow based on the rates that are applicable today. All right. So these are some of the things that I want you guys thinking about when it comes to your financial house. Let me spend these next couple of minutes on something else. Okay. I don't know if you guys see this part of my screen, but this is what I want you to kind of look around and see if any of these names that you see here are familiar to you. Okay. Now, if any of the names here look familiar to you, it's probably because you use them, or you've used them before in the past. All right. Or you might be using them now because we had 9 people on the call at the time earlier. Only a third of our attendees actually were familiar with their employer benefits. And a lot of your employer benefits come from companies that are on this list here. Okay. So look real closely, you know, see what you see. Because if these are some of the people that, come to me and my partners for clients, and here it is that I'm showing you how to navigate the financial system in a way that, quite frankly, a lot of us wish we would have learned much earlier in life. But I'll say this, and then we'll move on, right? Finance should not be a school taught thing. Should. And I know that that's going to irritate and ruffle some feathers, but as Rumi says, if you cannot take the roughness of, you will never become polished. All right, that's a little bit of a paraphrase. That's the urban version of the philosophy. Can't take the friction, get out the kitchen. All right, because you'll never get polished if you can't take that friction. You'll never be smooth if you can't take a little sand, paper, just to temper those rough edges on out, right? So let's think about this, because again, a lot of the roughness that affects our finances, which negatively and positively affects our relationships with those that we care about, right? Just think about it. Families that have their finances together, stay together, right? I know that somebody expect me to go a different direction with that, but if it sounded familiar, yeah, I borrowed it from the place you got it, where you think I got it from. Okay. Hallelujah. All right. You got what you asked, what you prayed for. Somebody got what they prayed for. Okay. You were asking for a solution. You prayed for it. Somebody said, be on this call. Okay. I may not look like the messenger that you're expecting. Okay. But I'm the messenger, and this is the message. Whether you have an appreciation for the outward appearance or not, is it more important than the information that you're gaining? Right? What's more important to you? The information and the intention of which I have to offer you this information, because mind you, no one's asking you for any money, right? You don't have to worry about a shoe dropping. Oh, sign up for my program. You hit me up, you hit up any of my partners. We educate you for free. Let's just get that clear. All right. And again, the people that we're partnered with, they're already working with you. A lot of you are already working with them. Okay. So let's get to the final portion of this presentation, which is going to be bringing it all together. Let's see, how do we create a financial house that is, you know, sturdier than we've ever wanted, ever thought it could be or wanted it to be. Why not? Right? Why not have a financially sturdy house? So we've talked about a lot of things today. Okay. Talked about a lot of things today. And for a lot of you, chances are, based on your income and the calculation, you're somewhere in this range of $150,000 to $500,000 in total needs for your financial situation. All right. That means you've got a mortgage, right? That means you've got family that depends on you, that you're supporting, right? You've got other things that you're working for. You've got a retirement, you work a 9 to 5, okay? And chances are you got more than just one child, which means that, and if you don't have more than one child, still got about a 10 to 15 year time period of when you need to be working. So I'm going to alter these numbers a little bit. I'm going to be altering this information, the fields that you see here, a little bit, just to kind of give everyone a broad range of things. Okay, so in this illustration, an illustration is not a guarantee, okay, of outcomes. It is purely hypothetical. All right, I'm showing you this to give you an idea of how we can design a plan based on different circumstances, different needs. All right. So let's say that we've got a young woman, about 23 years old, right? Just started having a family, so she's got one child now, one in the oven on the way. Okay. And she's still working a pretty decent job, making north of $70,000 a year. Okay. We do the math. If we did it by 70,000 times 3, let's just say it's about 210,000, right? Now I want you guys to understand something. In the world of insurance, fraud gets committed all the time. Okay, so let me introduce you to one form of fraud, and it's called a breakpoint sale. Okay, now a breakpoint sale is that at different coverage increments, you get a discount by having more coverage. It'll cost you less money if you have more coverage, right? Like, let's say that we came out to 210,000, 210,000. This young lady might have been for a 30-year policy, might have been paying close to the 30, let's say $36 a month, right? But for $40,000 more of coverage, excuse me, it won't be 36. No. Let's still stay with 36. It stays at 36. For $40,000 more coverage, from 210,000 to 250,000, it costs $38, right? Now we're doing a 30-year policy because at 23, she's not retiring anytime soon, right? But a couple of things may happen for this young lady. She may not be employed with the same people anymore, which means that the group term life insurance that she had, she's got to convert it to another expensive life insurance policy on her own if she's not able to get a job in 30 days, because that's how long you have that group term life insurance coverage, which means that if you don't get a new job in less than 30 days, you lose your insurance coverage. It lapses. Okay. So it may don't plan on just your employer sponsored life insurance, which only gives you about $50,000 because, well, if you didn't know, your employer is playing the tax incentive game as well, and they know that they only get a tax write-off per employee up to $50,000. So if you make less than $50,000, they almost wrote off your whole check just by getting you $50,000 of life insurance. Huzzah! Tricks of the game. Don't tell anybody because they don't want you to know. All right. Please, that would be the worst thing for anybody that's on this call tonight to do. Please don't tell anybody about this information. Keep it to yourself. You don't want anybody else to know about this. Nobody else needs to know. You get ahead of the game. Put your gas mask on first, right? Put your oxygen mask on first. Then you can help everybody else out. But don't tell anybody. I'm being a little facetious. Of course, I want you to tell somebody. And if you're watching a YouTube video later, shameless plug, please hit the thumbs up button. Okay. So it costs $38 for $250,000 worth of coverage. But this is not just a life insurance conversation. We're talking about taking care of all the debts, right? And because this young lady is just starting out with having a family, $250,000 worth of coverage. She may not have a mortgage yet. She may be just renting, getting ready to get a house, or maybe there's some other aspirations that she's looking into in the future, right? But 250,000, versus 210,000, we made it cheaper. All right. I don't know. $38, maybe that's too much for somebody. Maybe $250,000 is not enough coverage for somebody else. But we've got 30 years for this young lady to work with. The interesting thing about what you're seeing is that this automatically calculates how much we need to put into a savings plan, right? Now that could be just putting $25 into the retirement account, right? Into the 401k, into the IRA, right? Into the Roth. Ooh, we're saving up money for the future. That's awesome. But again, you can't touch this money for until you turn 59 and a half at the least. What happens if life happens and you need to touch this money? Hey, Prince, I need to touch the money that I've been putting aside, because instead of just having a regular savings account, I decided to invest because it made sense that like my money's not going to be growing very fast, but I've got, 3 months worth of income in a high interest savings account at HSBC because the last time I was on one of these calls, you told me go to HSBC or another high interest account and get high interest savings account. So that way my money is making more money than just 1.2%, right? So yeah, maybe you've got that high interest savings account and you've got your 3 months to 6 months worth of emergency income in that savings account growing for you, sitting there separate from your investment money, right? But I might have just gave some people some extra ideas. I don't know what's happening here. I don't know what's happening here. I know I'm supposed to charge for some of this, but I'm giving it away. Giving it away. We want you to have this. All right. $25 is all it costs set aside into an investment. An investment that's not going to be in your emergency savings account, right? An investment that's not tied to your retirement fund. Okay. And for $25 a month for 30 years, right? Some of you guys, I mentioned it earlier, the rule of 72. If we put a person into an investment at 3%, 6%, 9%, 12%, firstly, the rule of 72, it approximates how long it takes your investment in this example, okay, to double. So if you divide 72 by 3, 24 years, isn't that correct? 24 years.
Right.
And at 3%, which is like, hey, HSBC, high interest savings account, 14, you're $25 a month for 30 years, and that high interest savings account turned to 14,000, right? However, at 6%, the money doubled in how many years? 72 divided by 6 equals, what's
Well,
that? 12? So in 12 years, your $25 a month turns into $25,000 in 12 years. And then because this is a 30-year term period, you've got not one doubling period, but you've got two doubling periods in that 30-year term, right? So we just help someone make $50,000 at 6% with math. Don't be afraid of this stuff, guys. Don't be afraid of this math. This math is mathing, all right? This math is mathing, all right? So now at 9%, 72 divided by 9,
it's 8.
8 years, in over the course of 30 years, every 8 years, that means we've got what? How many doubling periods in 30 years?
3.5.
Three?
3.
Three and a half, right? So at $25 a month, 3.5 doubling periods turns into 45,000. And at 12%, 12 by
6.
76 years, 87,000, right? So on a monthly basis, person is paying 63,000, excuse me, $3 a month. Over the course of the entire 30 years, they've paid a total of $22,680, right? Over 30 years. However, at the end of the 30 years, we're able to give them back 45,000 when they spent 22,000. What just happened? Did, did we just not make their investment and essentially the insurance to make sure that their family is protected free? And at the same time, what else did we do? We made sure that they had done some estate planning, right? Their family is put into a position where whoever needs it is going to have it. That in the event that someone who's got children, if both you and your spouse, something were to happen to you, your children could still go to the people you want them to, and it's not going to be a problem for them. Care for your children the way that you want them to. And because we're in the business of relationships, your children can still call and talk to the people that helped you out with your planning, right? And we'll be helping your children make sure that they've got more money at the end of their life. And they've got life at the end of the money. Right? So guys and gals, do we have any questions? We got a couple minutes left. I want to make sure that like if anyone has any questions, I'm able to provide some type of support, some type of answer. Feel free to, don't bombard me, guys. Whoa, slow it down. Slow it down. One at a time. Got a
So
question.
what kind of savings plan was that you just showed us?
So this type of savings plan is, I guess you could call it a premium recovery because we're using an insurance premium as the base for the rest of our calculations, right? If we use the monthly premium as the beginning number for what the lowest possible amount of savings needed is to either A, make the insurance policy free at the end of however long of a term it is that a person may have it, and B, make sure that at the end of the term, if they're still alive, it can still either A, renew their term policy, or B, cancel the insurance policy, keep the investment, and make small withdrawals off of the investment without having to close the account. So their money will still be working for them, even if they are no longer working for it. So this is our premium recovery strategy. The savings is an investment. We teach people more about mutual funds and the some of the benefits that come along with mutual funds as well. So also, oh, I'm sorry, I got this. YouTube doesn't need to see this part.